Ray Wheatley for Australian Boxing Legends magazine. I'm here with Brian Fitzimmons, former Australian Golden Gloves champion, also Australian rated professional. How are you, Fitzy? How you going, mate?
Yeah, going well, Ray.
Fitzy, just want to go back on your career, mate, both as an amateur and also a professional. You took up amateur boxing with Peter Ford. Can you tell me what year?
Yeah, that's correct. It was early 1974, Ray.
Early 74, mate. You were in the police force at that time?
Yeah, I was a uniformed policeman at that stage.
Okay, mate. Now you went down to Melbourne and you fought for the Australian Golden Gloves light middleweight title.
That's right. That was November '74, and that was my 5th amateur fight. I was called up at the last moment because Paddy Rogers, the state champion, hurt his hand or broke his hand, so I went down there and got the job done.
You won on points down there?
Yeah, that's right.
Good work. And then you were training with Peter Ford, but as a professional, you decided to go with Bernie Hall.
I was working in the city at the time, and to make the weight for the Golden Gloves, I went to Bernie's gym, lost 8 or 9 pounds in a bit over a week, and it suited me to train with Bernie after that.
Yeah, he was a good trainer. Mate, you had your first pro fight, March '75. You knocked out Joe Coffey.
Yeah.
Tell me about that fight.
Oh, he's a big Samoan guy, and he could whack really hard, but put a couple on him and he didn't want to have anything to do with it after that.
Mate, in your second pro fight, you won over 6 rounds against Aki Puncher. But had some great wins. He beat Reno Zurich a few times. He beat Benny Holt. He beat Big Red Christensen and Kenny Aldridge, all rated fighters, mate. Benny Savala as well. Tell me about that fight with Aki Puncher. That was a good win.
Yeah, it was a good win, Ray. He was very much a fighter. He'd stalk his opponent. I tried to box him a bit, but in the end I had to fight him, and I got away with the win.
May of '75, you fought Johnny Lately, and you beat him on points over 6. Tell me about Johnny Lately.
He's a big fellow, he was. It was a fight fell through, or a few fights fell through at South Sydney, and Bernie asked me to go around with him. He was quite a bit heavier than me, but I was able to stay away from him and beat him on points.
The following month, June of '75, you fought Steve Ross. You won over 6 rounds. Tell me about Steve Ross.
Yeah, Steve Ross was a sailor, boxing in the service, and he very well built, but I got to him with a couple of punches and it was all over.
Did you stop Steve Ross?
Yeah, I think 2nd round, right?
Okay. Then October, you fought Amos Moses, who'd fought some good fighters, Amos Moses, and had a win over Ruby Steele.
Yeah.
Who was a rated fighter. You beat Amos Moses on points?
I beat him, actually we had a draw at St Mary's Man Club. It wasn't my night, but we had a draw. And then I fought him at South Sydney a couple of weeks later and had him down on his knees and had him well beaten on points.
In November, you had a very good win over Norman Beans. You knocked Norman Beans out in 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Norman Beans knocked out Lou Hurst, who was a top-rated light middleweight.
Yeah, he could really punch Norman, and if I didn't get to him, you know, he hurt me with a couple of punches, and I got stuck into him and ended it.
December of 1975, you had a busy year. You won a points decision over I Am Gentle. I Am Gentle beat Billy Joe, Les Miller, another rated fighter, and also Gary Hubble, at one time was well rated by the WBC, light heavyweight. Tell me about I Am Gentle.
Well, he was a very much a character of boxing. He was probably underrated. He could punch hard. He was tough, but he was very casual in his approach, and I beat him on points.
Tough boy, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you then fought Benny Holt.
Mm-hmm.
Benny Holt, very classy light middleweight. Tell me about the Benny Holt fight.
Yeah, I trained down to middleweight for that fight, and no excuses, but Benny was far more experienced than me in amateurs and professional. He was just too good on the night. He caught me with a couple of punches and they called it off.
Mate, 1978, you fought Bob Holt over 6 rounds. Tell me about the Bob Holt fight.
Yeah, he was a lovely bloke. They rang me and asked me if I'd fight Bob. I'd retired for a while, and I went in on the night and did my best, but it wasn't good enough on the night.
Now, you retired for 5 years, you came back, we boxed over 6 rounds in Dapto.
Yeah.
It was a fairly close fight, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're both big fellas, and I think you got away with me on points that night.
That's right, mate. Wasn't much in it, Fitzy. Then, I think only about a week later, we fought at South Sydney Juniors, and that was a draw over 6, wasn't it?
We got a shower that night, right?
We did, mate. Yeah, that was...
I think you took it.
Did you? Well, I needed it more than you, mate. You're in the police force.
Yeah, that's right.
Mate, then we fought again in February '84, over 8 rounds, and Cabra Vale Diggers, you won that fight very convincingly.
Yeah, I was fit that night. Everything went well for me, and it was a good win for me that night. You got me back later.
Okay. So, 5 months later, we fought at the Band Club.
Yep.
And, I reversed that. And won that on.
Well, all your fans were up there, right? I wasn't going to do too well.
Mate, then in July, then in August rather, the following month, you knocked out another guy who won the Australian amateur title the same night as you did. He won the middleweight Australian Golden Gloves, Mick Ambrose.
Yeah, Mick and I were mates, but we were matched up that night, and I went for it, and I was just a bit too good for him that night.
Mate, you took a very tough fight, your next fight in September, fought the very dangerous heavyweight Jeff Peet. Jeff Peet had knocked out Guy Waters in 2 rounds, had beat Daniel Saylor, had a win over Johnny Layton, had some great wins, Jeff Peet. You had boxed an exhibition with him and done fairly well in the exhibition. I was there that night. So tell me about your fight with Jeff Peet.
Yeah, well, Jeff was rated 2 in Australia. I was probably rated about 7 or 8. And I thought if I get it, the fight was an elimination fight for the state title. But I thought if I could beat him, I'd go for the Australian title, and that'd be a nice way to retire, fighting for the Australian title. But he was too big, too strong, and I got a very bad cut in the 3rd round.
That's right. Stopped on a cut, that's right. At Marrickville RSL. In your last fight, which was in March of '86, you fought the classy Tony Parada. Tell me about Tony Parada. You beat him over 8 rounds.
Yeah, very good boxer, Tony. He came in at late notice. He had to spot me a bit of weight, and I was a bit too good for him on the night, but he was a good boxer, right?
You've kept yourself in shape, Fitzy. You still box today?
Yeah, I still do a bit of pad work, a bit of sparring with a mate of mine.
Okay, mate. Still feeling good. You get to the fights at all?
Oh, I try and get there, Ray. I did go to Germany to see Daniel win the IBF.
That's right, you did.
And I followed him at different venues, Tasmania, etc.
You've done a bit of boxing with Daniel Gill too, didn't you?
I had a fun night with him.
Yeah.
I won the I won what would you call it, not a raffle. It was a
competition.
Yeah, no, it was a
raffle.
No, you vote. You know, I'm sorry. Anyway, I won a
an
boxing,
opportunity to spar Daniel Gill.
Yeah, an opportunity to it was a boxing lesson. And Daniel was a mate of mine, and he said, "Yeah, I'll give you a boxing lesson, Fitzy." But we had a bit of fun, and Daniel, the hardest Daniel hit me was when we touched gloves.
He looked after you, mate.
He's a lovely bloke, yeah.
2-time world middleweight champion. Anyway, Fitzy, the best of luck for the future, mate. We'll have a talk soon.
Thank you, Ray. All the best.
All the best, mate.